Hello and welcome to the Rask Network. What you're about to hear and see is limited to general financial information only. Please be sure to speak to your financial planner or refer to our financial services guide available at rask.com.au/FSG before acting on the information. Kate Campbell, welcome to this episode of the Australian Fine Arts Podcast. How are you?
It is wonderful to be here, Owen, and to have our host, Monique, with us.
I'm a host now.
I'm going to upgrade you.
You've been demoted, Monique. Welcome.
Is host a demotion from producer?
I feel like it is.
Oh.
I don't know.
This is my show now, guys.
Yes, step back.
Monique's taken over.
Hold the camera.
We're going to be crocheting in no time.
So we're here for Money and Chill, and we do this once a month, and it's very special because we tell you a little bit about what's happening in our lives, some of the money hacks, tips or tricks that we've come across, as well as what we're working on behind the scenes. And so this is a bit more casual. If you do like our more deep divey, more serious style finance episodes, you can skip to the next one, or you can send us your questions, your feedback, and be part of the next Money and Chill. If you have your own money hacks or feedback, maybe you've come across some really good tools or something lately that we can share with everyone in the community. But Kate, where do you want to start?
Well, I was thinking about money hacks and habits that changed our lives recently, because there's always that sort of thing going around on social media where people share habits that change their life. And there's a lot of things that when I reflect on my own experiences with money and how I learnt about it, there's things that I can pinpoint that have really changed the game for me. And I thought that'd be fun to discuss. Well, fun for me at least.
Yeah. This is just your one big experiment, this podcast. So no, that's fine. It's good. So we've got plenty to bring to the group. Monique, I can see in your notes here, there's
a lot of notes there, isn't there?
There's one thing which promises to bring with it a story. So that'll be good.
I have a story.
You have a story?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we'll save that extra special juicy story for just a moment and start with you, Kate. What have you got then for us? So what are the hacks that have changed your life?
Well, probably starting this podcast did change my life. Well, before this, my other podcast, How to Money, back in 2017, because
How to Money.
I started having conversations about money when I didn't know very much, but having a podcast gave me an opportunity to talk to all sorts of people from the finance industry and ask all of those questions that I just had no idea about. And yes, I could find lots of information online, but having someone who you could ask direct questions to was really, really helpful early on in my journey. And then it's just sort of snowballed since there, where we've done courses and all sorts of things, which has been amazing. But on that topic, I would say going down the rabbit hole and learning about my finances at the age of 18 and 19 has changed my life, because I have so many more choices and opportunities now because I started taking action at 18. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I was only learning now, and you can definitely start at any age, the best day to start is now. But because I started earlier, I have choices now a decade later that have really given me a lot more options when it comes to travel, what I choose to do with my career, having financial flexibility because I know I've got my emergency fund. All of those choices have really added up over the last decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And I just want to reinforce a point that you touched on there, which is that you can start at any age. Like you're a decade in, not to give away your age too much, not quite a decade. But you could be 47 listening to this and having started at 37, and you'll probably have the same feeling. Like we have a lot of people write into us that are entering retirement and they're like, oh my God, I just found your podcast. I wish I had something like this when I was younger. And that is amazing. It doesn't matter what age you are. I think there's a huge transformation that people can go on. And yeah, mine is very similar to yours, but I'll wait because I've got a list to get through. What else is something that's changed your life?
I can hand on heart say that automation has been another thing. So whether it's changed over the years because I've had different goals and different things I'm working towards, but whether it's automating $100 a week into a savings account when I get paid so that I built my emergency fund or saved up for Europe, or it's been automating investments so they happen in the background over the last few years, so much of my financial life has been able to be set up and not thought about on a daily basis, because once you set up a system, well, you only need to change it when maybe the inputs change or your goals change. So that's been able to happen a lot in the background, and I haven't even had to think about it. And so it's really helped me supercharge achieving different goals I've wanted to work towards without having to make so many decisions on a daily basis of what is my goal this month? Where do I invest the money? Should I invest this month? What if the market's going to crash? I get to forget about all of that because I'm super clear on what I want to achieve. And maybe some months I can't invest as much money or save as much money because income fluctuates or council rates come up, but you can adjust that and still have those automations running.
So powerful. And there's more and more that can be automated these days. It's not just like scheduling a BPay or, utility bill or something like that. There are so many things, and there's only going to be more in the future, let's be honest. So when you think about it, superannuation is probably the best form of automation for everyone listening to this, because if you're working, your employer pays it. And it's automatically done for you and see you at 65. It's a wonderful version of automation in action. So chances are anyone listening to this is already automating. They just don't know it. So how can you keep that going? Another thing that you've got in here is annual reviews and goal setting. Tell us about this, and then I might have a follow-up question.
So whatever the process looks like for you, I think it's really important to spend at least an hour or two at the end of every year just going through and looking at what really stood out to you throughout the year, things that you want to bring into the following year with you, things that you want to leave behind, areas that you want to spend more time or prioritize, and sometimes even just working out what your priorities are going into the year, because while you can probably do many things, you can't do them all at once. So even just writing out, well, these are the 10 areas of my life. We did a episode with Karen Ely recently about a money dates exercise, and she had a areas of life chart. I think there was 10 different things. So that worksheet in that episode might be helpful here, but just going through those 10 areas and thinking, what are the priorities this year? Because yes, your health's important. Yes, your relationships are important, your finances, your career, all these different areas. But sometimes you have to put one thing first and one thing second and one thing third, and not everything can be your number one priority. So that's a really good reflection as well. And so I think that's something I've been doing at least for 10 years and just reviewing.
Wow.
It's sort of gotten more complex. I mean, at 18, I didn't have very complex goals. I think it was just the one thing I wanted to do the next year. But it's evolved as my life's changed. And just taking that time to review, set some intentions for the year ahead, and even simplify things. At the start, I set lots of different goals, but now I just try and set one small, one medium, and one long-term goal and work on those.
Do you set goals, Monique?
Every day of my life.
Yeah, amen. What would be an example of a long-term goal you have, or you have had? It doesn't have to be the current one.
So my long-term goal is still the same, actually, since I've been 18 and went down that rabbit hole I mentioned and discovered Mr. Money Mustache and the idea of financial independence. My goal to be financially independent in a few decades is something that I've had sitting in the background, and I've been slowly working towards for ever since I've been 18. That sounds really weird. But still working towards that, and that's just happening in the background. But it's not a priority. It's not something I'm thinking about all the time. Definitely during the first few years, I was thinking about this goal on a daily basis, but it's probably something I only think about a few times a year now because I've got these systems in place.
It's kind of one of those things that you can work towards passively in the background through automation and all those other things you got going on. Yeah, that's fantastic. I think a lot of people struggle to set really concrete long-term goals when they're younger. I feel like it's just a function of their age and they don't know what their future holds, haven't been on the planet that long. So to set a 20-year goal when you're only 18 is like, it's taken me this long to get here. Like that's even further away. So I feel like that's like there's plenty of good reasons there, but I'll come back to that because there is something about that kind of relates to my one as well. So Monique, you're setting all these long-term goals. What have you got for us? What's changed your life?
Well, I got scammed last week.
Did you really?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Well, is it a scam? I don't know what the right word is here. But someone used my credit card.
Oh, wow.
In the Bronx.
In the Bronx?
Yeah.
I could see that.
Right.
Do you know what they bought?
They bought pet food.
Really?
So it's from like Bronx Pet Store or something. That's what the transaction said, $150. And then it had the international
FX.
whatever.
Transaction fee.
That's the one after it. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm not in America.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure.
Yeah. So I found out through I know you should check your statements and all that pretty often, but he really does that. But I got the notification on my phone through with CommBank, and it just said, money spent at blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm sitting on my couch at home in Australia. that wasn't me. So I straight away went on the CommBank app. I didn't even call them up or anything. I went on the chat function and I was like, hey, this happened, sent them the details and whatever. And I got my money back within like 2 days.
Did you lock your card as well?
I locked my card straight away. That's what CommBank told me to do. I locked my card and then they sent me a new one, got it within like 3 days. And yeah, happy days. I got my money back and I got the international transfer fee back as well.
And you got the pet food.
And I got no.
Joke's on you, CBA.
Yeah. So it's happened maybe a couple times before, but it doesn't really happen that often. And I'm like, how? Like, why? How did they get my details? But yeah, it happens. So it really does pay to check.
Review
your statements and stuff just for those things that may happen. Because it does happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes brands double charge you. I've had that happen a few times.
Yeah, I had that happen too. Yeah, recently. Like, what's going on?
Oh, that was another CBA thing. Not to throw CBA further under the bus, but if I just chucked them under the back wheels, that's
okay. That's why that
was another CBA thing. CBA, we're watching. Yeah, that was. Yeah. Anyway.
But you can change the settings on your card so you get notifications now when you spend. So that could be quite good if you don't know where your card's going.
Yeah.
You're not the first Rask podcast host, according to Kate, that has been scammed in the last year. So keep that in mind. Well, it happens to the best of us.
I know.
Not me. I haven't been scammed as far as I'm aware. I mean, I probably have, but...
Oi, who are you referring to?
Not you.
Someone in our wider Rask network.
Someone that's on the Australian Investors podcast.
All right.
Wink. He's a financial advisor. Wink. Not to narrow it down too far, but his family also sell goat's cheese.
Well, you wish.
He wishes.
I wish.
But seriously, it was him. Okay, so mine are not nearly as fun. Money hacks that saved your life. Scrub Daddy, of course, the top of the list. So you can wash your dishes with it.
I'm on the Scrub Mummy now.
Scrub Mummy?
It's got both sides.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Best $5.40 you've ever spent, I tell you what. No, but seriously, Scrub Daddy, good sponge. That's what I'll say for that. I did buy this hasn't changed my life yet, but I can see it participating in my life in a big way going forward, which is, I can't remember the name of it to save my life, but it's a coffee machine that I got for my recent birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Monique.
Okay.
So we share the same birthday.
They're birthday twins.
Yep. Birthday twins, us. And who else?
Kim K.
Kim K. Anyway, I got this coffee machine for my birthday. Now, before you're thinking, he's one of those Breville dudes that just goes and buys like a $700 thing. Nah, this was $57. And it's
Is that all? I didn't realize. I didn't look at the price. That's pretty good.
When you look at it, you think it's worth $20, but it's actually, it's a $57 unit.
Cool.
You know what? The reason I bought this is basically just go onto Amazon and sort all the products in the world and go highest to lowest and you'll be right. Because you crowdsource the reviews and then there's a little AI snippet that tells you the good and bad bits of the reviews. Anyway, I wanted an American coffee maker, the ones that you pull out with the glass.
In the American diners in the movies.
Yeah, those are god-awful things. They taste horrible. But this one actually with Australian beans, you can go down to your coffee shop, get the beans, and it's more economical and you can set it so that it auto brews. So when you wake up in the morning and it stays hot for 2 hours.
Stop.
Yeah, boy. That's what I'm saying. So I will put a link in the show notes to this coffee machine. If you buy it and you don't like it, don't blame me. But if you do like it, feel free to send us a photo or something because it is a good coffee machine. It's only $57. It's a lot cheaper than the other ones. I think it's more economical on beans.
I'm still stuck on my Nespresso machine. It's been working for years.
Really? Nespresso is good.
I've got Nespresso.
There was a bit of controversy about that.
But it's about $1 a pod, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, this thing is good if you like to drink coffee. If you have 3 or 4 cups a day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not that far gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a slippery slope. I would say if we're talking about more skills and things that we do with money, I think negotiation skills is easily the biggest hack of my life. Just being able to negotiate. I learned a lot of it from the book Influence by Robert Cialdini. I speak about it a bit. It's a very dense book for people that aren't familiar, but it's the original kind of marketing and persuasion book. but there's probably one quote that encapsulates it better than any other, which is from Charlie Munger, which is, you need to know your opponent's argument better than they do. And he was a lawyer, so you can think about that. Like Kate's not quite a lawyer, but it could be soon, who knows? Now, if Kate and I are having a debate, in order to understand the debate and probably be in a better position, I should understand Kate's perspective better than she does. That's how hard I need to work. And that was his approach to negotiation and living his life. And I think if you approach that, if you go into a negotiation, whether it's for a used car, whether it's with a family member of a holiday destination that you kind of disagree on,
or a pay rise at work, which is probably
pay rise at work, that seems to be reasonable
scenario.
Relevant. Keeping me on track here, Kate. If you go into any of these things, if you understand the perspective of the other person that's coming to that conversation, you will have a far better likelihood of converting them to your perspective. And there's other concepts, there's like BATNA, like best alternative, like where you have what they would agree on, what you would agree on, and you're trying to meet in the middle. But I just honestly think like negotiation skills are so, so important. And I talk about this a bit, but our first house, which we bought the day before the really big lockdowns in Victoria during COVID, this was like the week that the CBA had come out and said house prices could fall by 32%. And then there were some bozos in the AFR saying like 26% annualized. You can look it up. And I was like, people are reading this stuff. So I'm going to use that. And people are not going to be able to go do inspections because it is like lockdowns. So I'm going to use all of those negative triggers to my advantage. Not in a sinister way, but just literally to be like, hey, so here's my offer. It's probably like 40 grand under what you could probably get. I can't afford any more, but you can avoid all those other scary things if you just take my offer now. And they took it. And I feel like had it not been for recognizing what pressure they might be under, that deal never would have been made. And I'm glad about that. Another thing, final thing here, is I agree wholeheartedly with what you said before, Kate, is that starting early is like a real superpower when it comes to money. It doesn't matter what age you are. But having some amount of money when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 allowed me to get out of what I was in. And importantly, had I not worked really hard during that stage of my life to understand money, to try and earn money, to try and save, like really push myself, Rask wouldn't exist. And so any amount of money, whether you're in debt and you got $5 grand worth of credit card debt you need to pay off and you don't know how you're going to do it, any amount of positive money, like to pay that off or save a bit of money, brings you more and more options. And what's interesting about it is that the difference between having 80 grand in cash and having 100 grand in cash, it doesn't really bring you that many options, but the difference between having 80 and 20 brings you heaps. The difference between having 20 grand of cash and 20 grand in debt is massive. Like the incremental change, you make so much positive change in the early days. And that's what it was like for me. I went from basically having nothing, like literally nothing, when I was at home and trying to go through school, to then getting a good job and saving as much as I can. Like it was just liberating. Could move house, could move out of home, do all those types of things. And that's ultimately then what snowballed. So I would 100% say that that's like if you're anywhere in life, but if in particular, if you're young, like just get some money in the bank, massive, massive opportunity for you. That would be my 2 cents.
And if you're a listener with younger people in your life, I think that's one of the biggest skills that you can give them is just talking to them about money. You don't need to be forcing compound interest calculators down their throat, but actually just talking to them about what choices that wealth can give you, how it can increase the options and the opportunities you have, and just thinking about things a little bit differently and seeing money as an opportunity rather than something that's a scarce resource.
Yeah, like we had a Tash Invest in the studio yesterday. The episode will come out in the Australian Investors podcast soon. And she was talking about like how she did this, and she says a net wealth and stuff online, net worth, sorry, all that sort of stuff online. And I talked to her about like, she didn't really know why necessarily she had so much money in the first place, or like why she saved so much. But I remembered when we had Shane Parrish on the show and his book Clear Thinking, which if you haven't listened to the episode with Shane Parrish, I would highly encourage you to go back and do that. But basically, Shane raises this point that, if you're Warren Buffett and you're deciding whether you buy like Amazon shares or Apple shares, really, it doesn't matter. Like it's probably going to work out because you're Warren Buffett, right? And I don't mean that because he is who he is. I mean it because he's coming from a position of strength. But now, if you put Warren Buffett in a situation where he has to choose between going to a job that he hates for 5 years or kind of declaring bankruptcy, both of those are bad choices. But he has no choice either way. He has to make a call. And that's because he's come at it from a bad position. Whereas if he had money in the bank, he would be able to make better choices because his options are better. And I think that's drastically underestimated. People think that they look at other people and then be like, oh, you made this choice. Wow, wonderful. Look how good it worked out. But he came to it from a position of strength and he was in a situation that wasn't dire. He didn't put himself in heaps of credit card debt. He didn't put himself in buy now, pay later. He didn't spend frivolously on stuff, And so I think people just need to remember that as well. It's like you put yourself in that position. So by having an amount of cash, even if it's $500, even if it's $50, if you've got some cash, you have options. And that is truly liberating. So just to double down on that. Now that's that. What else?
Anything been happening in Rask world recently? I know you've got a few things rumbling behind the scenes.
A few.
I don't think so. Is there anything?
Nah. Nothing that important.
Nah.
No?
Got new stickers on the headphones.
Not a new logo?
There's a new logo.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. We've
not a big deal there.
Nah, it took us months. But if you are new here, it's not a scam. It's the same old Rask. We've got we've had a facelift. We've gone to one of those strip malls down near Bondi in Sydney and the brand's looking good. No, but seriously, we have had a facelift. If you were one of the people in our community, and I'm so appreciative. If you wrote into us, if you took part in our surveys, if you helped us design the current brand, thank you so much because we had a lot of work to do, Sophie, our designer, to create the brand that you see in front of you, the new podcasts, social media, websites, memberships, our investment service, like all of that, money coaching, financial advising, like all that stuff is the result of that feedback. So thank you so much. And there'll be heaps of things to fall out of this. This is just like the facelift that's come from the skeleton, which was re-put together earlier this year, which is like our backbone. So like our tech and automation and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, someone said to me the other night, geez, Rask is a real business now. I'm like, what do you think we've been for 7 years? But they're probably right. Yeah, community. If you're part of the Rask community, it's free, it's safe, it's secure, it's away from traditional social media where you get bombarded with random ads or...
If you want to ask Owen nerdy questions, that's where you can go.
Yeah, you can. You can also stay up to date with our events and our online things and partner giveaways and that sort of stuff. We recently hit $10 million invested into our platform, Rask Invest, which is great. We're getting more and more, like the key thing that we look at with when people invest with us is not necessarily how much is invested because it's still very small, but how many of them have invested a small amount and then do the dollar cost averaging. We call it a regular contribution plan. So you can set that up inside your account and we can track how many people have that switched on and what's the total value of that. And that is growing faster and faster and faster every single day. Like it is building really fast, which is great because it shows us that people have chosen to invest with us. Maybe it's a small amount at first, but then they've ticked this thing on, which will just automate for forever. We'll do all the rebalancing. We'll adjust the portfolios. We'll do all that. And that's been really great. So I'm sure Mitchell probably wants me to say more about that, but that's the gist. Moving on to more interesting finds and resources. We like to share things from outside of the Rask community that you might like. Monique, over to you. Anything to...
Oh, well, my one big find.
Go.
It's called an Adrian.
An Adrian?
Yeah. He's behind the cameras and audio desk at the moment. He's giving us a hand and I'm so grateful.
Welcome to the team, Adrian. Yes.
For clarification, a hand with what?
Oh my God, everything.
So traditionally, Monique does like everything. She's had some basic support over the years.
Yes.
And we've had some great people, but...
So editing podcasts.
Editing, recording. Yeah, that's the main.
Social media, videos, reels, all that sort of stuff. So amazing. Welcome to the team, Adrian.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you, sir. It's good to have you. That's good. That's a good find.
Yeah.
That's a great resource. That's
my
easily
one.
that beats all of the other ones that we have here. So kudos.
You're a proper boss now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Better watch it.
Me on the warpath.
What about you, Kate?
Well,
Actually, have you ever been a boss?
I don't think so.
Oh, maybe there's something long-term goal.
Don't think so. I'm quite happy just managing myself.
Yeah, you're like me. It's enough to
Yes.
take care of.
Yeah. I don't need to handle anyone else's life. All right. Now, a show I really like is called Fisk on ABC. I don't know
love
if
that show.
either
Fisk.
of you have seen
I'm
it,
gonna
but
Google
it
this.
is Kitty Flanagan is a wills and estates lawyer. At this,
Course.
it is low budget Aussie humour.
It's pretty good.
There's references to the Coles chocolate mud cake and various other things. And I just find it quite entertaining. Some of the legal stuff is pretty on point. So I've seen some lawyers
verified
talk
it?
about it on
a lawyer.
LinkedIn and say it's legit. So
Verified.
gave me some ideas. I ended up going down this rabbit hole because when I was trying to research a particular area of law for an assignment, it came up with an article which had done a review of her episode on this particular area of law if people want to leave money to a charity in a will. And this episode turned out to be nearly the last episode in season 2. So I had to watch all of season 1 and season 2 to
Of
get
course.
there.
Naturally, it's study.
By the time I got to season 2, I'd
CPD.
worked it out. But season 3 has just started. So I would recommend. It's a lot of fun. They're 20 minutes. It's very laugh out loud. It's so ridiculous.
Lots of
and you'll
balls.
recognise lots of Aussie actors.
So ABC iView, the show is Fisk, Fisk.
Yeah, and it's free. So you don't need a streaming service.
Look at that. You're just tying it in with a savings
Yep.
tip. Yeah, there we go. What else have
ABC
you
and
got?
SBS. Good services.
Oh, yeah.
Get a
All
load
the
of
Australian-
Lots of
Australia.
stuff on SBS.
SBS has got a lot. Yeah. What else?
A book that I thought you might like, Owen. The author is also a fan of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, like you. So you both idolize the same people. It's called Never Enough by Andrew Wilkinson. And so he was a billionaire on paper for a while, but he started a business that owned lots of little software businesses in the US. But he wrote it's sort of a memoir reflection of what drove his behavior to build wealth and also his reflections on, well, once he had wealth, was it actually making him happier? He was still burnt out. He had people wanting things from him. His safety wasn't as secure as before. People were just rocking up at his house wanting things from him. And then he decided that he had reached a point of enough. In fact, he had too much and he was going to start giving some of it away. So it's a really interesting reflection if you're a bit further on into your money journey or you think you need a lot more than you do. From a very different perspective, but he's very sort of aware of the fact that he was quite wealthy. His reflections on, well, how do we get and figure out that enough point so we're not always searching because there's always someone with a bigger yacht.
Yep. Yachts.
So I thought you might like that one.
That's a good one. That's a good pick. So Never Enough is the book. It looks like it's got a broken pencil on the front of the cover. This is different.
It's a blue cover with sort of a skyscrapers.
This is Jennifer Wallace's book. You know what? That stresses me out that all books can have the same name.
Yeah, I don't think the rules are the same for book.
No. Okay. So it is by, what's his name? Sorry?
Andrew Wilkinson.
Andrew Wilkinson. So we'll put a link in the show notes.
You'll
cool.
probably be interested in him as a software engineer.
Yeah, from
kind of
barista to
person.
billionaire.
Yeah, I like that one.
Wow. Okay. Inspiring. And I believe you've got one more for us.
Yes. Now, this is not a finance pick, but if you are after a really interesting fiction novel, which is falling under the category psychological thriller, and this was my book club book last month, so this is why I read something definitely out of my comfort zone. It's called None of This is True by Lisa Jewell. I listened to it as my free Spotify audio book for the month. So if you've got premium, you get a free 15 hours a month, so make use of that. And this book just kept me hooked. It was fully produced with sound effects and different voice artists by the audiobook creator. And I'd really recommend it if you like gripping novels. So you just didn't know what was true. Was any of it true? What was going on? So that's all I'll say. But that's my recommendation.
Okay. So this is None of This is True by Lisa Jewell. Great. It's a good list. I like that you narrowed it down to 3. And I like that that you're part of a book club, first of all. It's a strong signal for someone that doesn't read a lot of books. Maybe trust the person that's part of a book club because they probably read a few.
Mitch is also part of a book club.
Mitchell. Yeah, okay.
He was reading Frankenstein the other month.
I'll raise that at his next review, no worries. I've actually been reading. Yes.
Really?
I can't do that thing.
That shocks me.
I went back and reread because the first time a lot of it did not sink in. No Rules by Reed Hastings and Erin Mayer. So this is the book of Netflix and the culture of reinvention, I think is what the subtitle is. So this is a book for business owners, but it's also just a book for people that are interested in business generally. So like investors or people that are in like a corporate career. It's really interesting. So this book, No Rules, is about like reinventing the culture of corporate America and how they built Netflix to transition from originally it was just mail out. Do you guys I feel like I'm showing my age?
The DVDs
quick flicks
in the mail.
You could get the DVDs in the mail.
I remember going to Blockbuster.
That was a time.
Man.
When I was a kid, Dad would let me pick one video.
It was like a Friday night activity.
You'd have to rewind it so it fits.
Yeah. And then you'd go to Blockbuster or Video Easy or one of these places and you stand there picking the movie for longer than it would take you to watch the thing.
It'd be a full half an hour experience.
I can't imagine people that have proper analysis paralysis.
If it was a new release, it wouldn't be there.
Yeah. It'd be like they just showed that empty cover that says
like
and then once it started being DVDs at Blockbuster and there was a scratch on them and you miss a minute of it and just don't know what happens.
All the younger people listening to this are like, what?
What was your number one blockbuster? Blaster pick. We'll go with that.
Blockbuster pick? Like a movie?
Yeah. Did you always have one that you went to?
Oh, it would have had to have been like an Adam Sandler movie, like Happy Gilmore or something like that back in the day. Or Waterboy. Nice. Yeah. What about you? Did you have something that
Grease?
Grease?
Yeah. 100%. Every time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Kate, dare we ask?
I don't think I went often enough.
It's a real treat for me.
It was like a 40-minute drive away.
Okay.
Oh, wow. We were in the country.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, the reason that Netflix could come into existence is because when the DVD came along, it didn't come in like the standard, like book size cover. It came in like a little sleeve for people that aren't familiar. It kind of came in like the size of a CD was the size of the thing that it came in, like the envelope. So it was like really easy for them to mail these DVDs out and then you just send them back. Whereas when it was VHS, it would have been too expensive and the business model wouldn't have worked. So that's what initially like brought down Blockbuster and Video Easy. I believe there's still one Blockbuster in the world. Don't quote me on that, but I think there's still one left in America. I think maybe it's like a museum, who knows? But I'm
going to get Grease.
Yeah, you could go get Grease next to your pet food. So if you think about it, when it went from DVDs, went to DVDs from VHS, it was able to bring in this new business model. But then it went from DVDs or CD type things into desktop, and you could watch via your computer, like post dial-up internet. You could get your broadband, and you could you could stream a service. So that was then Netflix then had to build their own catalog because there was like movie rights and things. But then they had to go to a new form factor, which was phones. And phones changed the game in the last 10 years because now people watch on their phones, their iPads, on the go. So different technology was needed again. And then finally now they're moving into like games and that sort of stuff. For folks that don't know, you can play games inside Netflix.
I find that very annoying that all these games are popping up on Netflix at the top.
There's not like...
I do not want to play the video game of Too Hot to Handle.
Interesting.
I do not want to watch it either.
Why not?
But not my cup of tea, Monique.
One of the things that comes out of this book, for example, is like they talk about how, I talked to you about this not too long ago, which is that hiring and having people in your team is really powerful in the modern era if you get the right team together. Because typically the way it would work in old school businesses, like say like you worked at like a timber mill and you would whatever, you could maybe use a machine better than the next guy or gal, like the milling machine or whatever. You could use that and you might be like 10% better or 20% better at using that. Or if you're a baker, for example, Kate, you might be able to make 50% more than the next best person, or a bricklayer might be able to lay 50 more blocks a day than someone that's, more junior or not as sophisticated.
I'm just laughing at the sophisticated bricklayer.
Yeah, well, it can happen. But then imagine, for example, again, you have a software engineer. And a software engineer may not necessarily be 20% better, maybe not 10% better. They might be 10 times better, or they might be 50 times better than the person that's next to them. And so it's the same with graphic design. It could be the same with podcast hosts. You could get one podcast host who is amazing next to someone that's good, but not nearly as amazing. And so there's this like what we call power law that applies. And what I learned from this book is that if you really want to build a business in the modern era and you want to be part of a high performance team, you have to pay the maximum amount of money always, which is very different to like the bonus structure, business owners trying to get the cheapest employee. If you're trying to build a business in the modern era that requires people to create things, you need to pay the maximum amount of money all the time. That was something that I took away. And he kind of talks about how like bonuses and that really don't work. So really interesting book. And I've got heaps on my list, but I'll throw one final one at you, which is very, very different, which is from the Knowledge Project, an interview about the blueberry billionaire, a guy called John Bragg. Now listen to this on the way home from the airport the other day. And this is about the story about a guy who became a billionaire by selling wild blueberries. And he's like, I think he's 70s or 80s now. And it's an incredible story about this family business that just started building blueberries. And then what they realized is that in order to grow their wealth, they needed everyone else to understand how good blueberries were. So they started to educate everyone else on how to sell blueberries. So instead of just focusing on their own business, they went around and they helped other people build blueberry businesses. And then that then created the industry. And now you can get wild blueberries at Coles or Woolworths. And without them growing the entire industry for everyone, there wouldn't be wild blueberries at Coles or Woolies today.
Oh, what are wild blueberries compared to normal blueberries?
Oh, wow, that's synthetic crap, mate.
Like the Driscolls in the yellow packet.
Yeah, have a look, because if you get like, I don't know, because I've been on this whole organic food binge lately. If you bite into like nice blueberries or strawberries that are like organic or wild grown, seriously, like put them side by side with like regular old blueberries and your mind will be blown, like how different they are. And they're more expensive, of course, but it's actually incredible how different they are. And they have more antioxidants and all this sort of stuff.
They just taste so much better.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So you've gotten onto this wild blueberry.
Not the blueberry in particular.
Just buy the normal blueberries. If you go to the supermarket, the yellow Driscoll's pack is the way to go. Okay. Huge, well-rounded blueberries.
Blueberry is a very very first world thing to say. Like we are like doing very well for ourselves, and we're buying wild blueberries. But like, it's seriously good. One final one I'll throw at you is a storytelling expert, The Architecture of Influence. If you're already listening to the Knowledge Project, you may as well listen to that episode with Matthew Dix. It's all about storytelling. Wonderful for anyone that wants to know how to engage people, how to talk to people, how to be a public speaker, how to just talk to your friends and family and captivate their imagination. It's wonderful, wonderful. I think you listened to it.
I've listened to some other stuff he's done and read a book. And you've also got a podcast with John Addis on how not to lose $1 million.
Yeah. So we recently read the book, How Not to Lose $1 Million, with John Addis, the founder of Intelligent Investor. Disclosure, in a roundabout way, they sponsor some of the Rask podcasts. But that's a wonderful book for share investors only. It's not for like, if you're just interested in ETFs and automating your money and that, it's probably not the book for you. But if you are interested in how businesses work, why companies like Cochlear do really well, and how to invest in them, this book by John Addis is wonderful. There was a podcast that we've done recently. I'm surprised it didn't get more downloads than it has already, to be honest. Like normally we have a good feel of, well, I don't feel like you guys would too. Like you have a feel of where episodes might go in terms of if they really catch on YouTube or if they go, like this viral social media thing. This one, I was like, this one's in the bag, you know. I loved it.
The algorithm did not agree with you.
But maybe it was a bit too niche, but I absolutely loved it. And John is a wonderful human being and so delighted that he put pen to paper for this. Absolutely wonderful. So that'll all be in the show notes. But in the next Money and Chill episode that we do, it'll be a Christmas special, but it'll be special in a few other ways. So... yes, it'll be special.
Special.
Very special. So that's coming up next month on the Australian Finance Podcast, Money and Chill. Remember, this is where we get Monique to jump out in front of the camera as opposed to behind it. And we talk about your stories, your money hacks, your lessons learned, your interesting finds. So if you are listening to this, if you're watching this, please write into us. You can do that via the community, Money and Chill. Just chuck that in somewhere and we'll pick it up. Or you can use the link in your podcast player. That's the one that says ask a question. You can then submit it that way. Or if you're on Spotify or just any way you like, just send us some things to discuss for next month's Money and Chill. What else, Kate?
I think that's about it for this month.
That is about it. Well, Monique, you really...
I was really talkative this one, wasn't I?
Yeah, you did. You brought the review your bank accounts.
Only brings the good stuff.
You brought the sparkly purple dinosaur earrings.
Especially.
It's purple today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's purple day.
And we should be watching, but if you're not watching, there's also purple on the...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
On the stickers.
The logo.
Oh my
on
God.
the new logo.
It's
so
all
the
just meant
logo
to
with
be.
the earrings with the top.
She's got
planned
the
this.
orange. She's got the
planned
blue.
this.
Where's the green though?
Geez, you're really
Moving on.
Without even knowing.
Oh, the eyeshadow.
The eyeshadow.
Locked down. She's
Wonderful.
our mascot.
Mascot 2025. And yeah, you can get in contact with us any way you like, Instagram, whatever. Just be really mindful of scams because
Got me.
Monique here,
Got me good.
They are everywhere at the
Yes,
moment.
and Instagram won't take a single Rask scam account down.
Yes, there's nothing we can do, but we do appreciate you reporting them. It's a really difficult thing for us to try and manage, as if with everyone that has a brand or a finance business in Australia, it seems they're coming from all over these days. But just keep your wits about you. We don't DM you. We'll never talk to you about trading and strategies and crypto. We'll never invite you to WhatsApp.
They always start by going, "Hey mate, how's it going?
Yeah.
How's your trading strategy going?"
Yeah. Just laughing because I would never ask anyone in the world that question. So if it sounds like my voice, it's not mine. But Kate, Monique, this was heaps of fun. So Monique, thanks for joining us.
Anytime.
And Kate, always a pleasure.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for watching this video on the Rask Network. While you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get videos each and every day on business, finance, investing, and so much more.